In the Song dynasty, one day the emperor hosted a banquet. General Kong got very drunk. He argued about military achievements on the border with the deputy general in front of the emperor. In a moment of anger, they quarreled and lost their propriety. The attendants on both sides requested that they be handed over to officials for punishment, but the emperor refused. The next day, the two of them went to the imperial palace to ask for forgiveness. The emperor said, "I was also very drunk and can't remember what happened." This response method not only cleverly resolved the potentially tense situation at that time, but also gave General Kong and others a way out. This inspires us to be good at using wisdom and choosing appropriate methods when dealing with problems. Sometimes, direct criticism and punishment may not be the best choice. Instead, we need to adopt flexible and ingenious strategies according to specific situations to achieve better solutions and maintain good interpersonal relationships and team order. In a team or organization, members may make some mistakes or improper behaviors for various reasons. If leaders can understand and tolerate with a tolerant attitude, they can not only avoid the harm caused by excessive punishment to members, but also win the gratitude and respect of members, thus creating a more harmonious and positive working atmosphere. In the Tang dynasty, when Li Feng was the local magistrate, he stipulated that if an official or common people committed a crime, they would not be punished with flogging. Instead, he only ordered them to wrap a green turban. This was to humiliate them, and according to the severity of the crime, the number of days for wearing the green turban was determined. It was only taken off after the period expired. Anyone who went in and out wearing a green turban considered this a great shame. People encouraged each other and dared not commit crimes again. Even tax collection was completed before other counties. Until he resigned from his official position, he had never flogged a single person. The general did not adopt the traditional method of flogging. Instead, he thought of making the guilty people wrap a green turban to humiliate them and used people's sense of shame to prompt them to reform. This shows that in management and education, we can pay attention to psychological guidance for people and stimulate internal motivation to correct mistakes. For guilty officials, going in and out wrapped in a green turban was regarded as a great shame. They encouraged each other and dared not repeat their offenses again. This reflects that negative incentives can also be transformed into positive motivation, prompting people to restrain themselves and make progress together. Leaders lead by example and govern in a mild and effective way, which can win the respect and trust of subordinates and thus better achieve management goals. In the Han dynasty, after the emperor executed Wang Lang, he sent people to collect relevant letters and obtained thousands of letters in which many officials colluded with him. But the emperor did not read these letters. He gathered the officials and burned the letters in front of people, saying, "Those who are worried about being discovered for their rebellious acts need not worry anymore." Burning documents is a way for him to rebuild trust. After this incident, there may be a trust crisis within the team. Through this measure, he shows people that he values future cooperation and unity more than past mistakes. He deeply understands the power of unity. He knows that only internal unity can better cope with external challenges. By burning documents, he reintegrates the forces that might have been divided or opposed into his own camp, strengthening his own strength. The attitude of leaders often influences the atmosphere of the entire team. Tolerance and magnanimity can make subordinates feel trusted and respected, thereby stimulating their loyalty and work enthusiasm. This positive team atmosphere is conducive to improving the cohesion and combat effectiveness of the team. Leaders also need to possess the wisdom to stabilize people's hearts, be able to understand the situation, and take appropriate measures to avoid unnecessary disputes and internal consumption, so as to unite the team's strength. In our lives and work, we should also learn this spirit. Don't be misled by momentary emotions or small interests. Instead, think about problems from a long-term perspective and make decisions that are beneficial to overall development. During the Song dynasty, when Chen Shu was in charge of managing the national treasury, The emperor ordered him to report the approximate amount in the treasury. Chun Shu only agreed but did not present it. After a long time, despite the emperor's repeated urgings, he still did not present it. Later, the emperor sent someone to ask him. He said, "The new emperor is still young. If he knows that the treasury is abundant, he may develop a heart of extravagance and waste." Comment. The responsibility of managing the national treasury is not only to execute the emperor's current orders, but also to consider the long-term interests of the country. Considering the growth of the new emperor and the future stability of the country, he fulfills his duties with a more comprehensive and long-term perspective and assists the monarch in governing the country. When Wu Han was the Grand Marshal, there was once an attack by bandits on his military camp in the middle of the night. The army was alarmed. Wu Han pretended not to care and still lay on his bed and continued to sleep. When the soldiers in the army heard that the Grand Marshal didn't care at all and was even too lazy to get up, they all returned to their posts. After things calmed down, only then did he select elite soldiers and launch a sudden attack, thoroughly defeating the bandits. This is a strategy of using stillness to counteract movement. However, if discipline had not always been strict, even if one wanted the soldiers not to move rashly, it would be impossible to achieve. When facing an emergency situation like a sudden raid by bandits in the middle of the night, Wu Han did not panic. Instead, he remained calm and pretended not to care and continued to sleep. This composed attitude is extremely important in times of crisis. It can prevent making wrong decisions due to panic and at the same time stabilize the emotions of those around. The general adopted the strategy of using stillness to counteract movement. First, he stabilized the situation and let the soldiers return to their posts, avoiding further expansion of the chaos. After the situation calmed down, he then selected elite soldiers and launched a sudden attack, thoroughly defeating the bandits. This strategy tells us that when facing challenges, we don't necessarily have to take immediate action. We can first observe the situation and wait for the right moment to act in order to achieve better results. The story emphasizes that if discipline had not always been strict, the soldiers would not have been able to remain still in this situation. Strict discipline is the guarantee of the combat effectiveness of the army. It ensures that the soldiers can obey commands and act in unison at critical moments. In any organization or team, clear rules and regulations and good discipline are the keys to achieving goals. Only when everyone follows the rules can we form a joint force and complete tasks efficiently.